So it's hard to follow Stacey Abrams and him and try to be funny, but this is my real voice. I don't smoke. I'm not sick. I just talk this way. And this is a true story. My wife and I, Connie Schultz, who many of you know, Connie, by the way, in about 2 weeks, Stacey Abrams is coming to Toledo, and my wife is a journalist, will interview her on stage, which is exciting for all of us. So, but this is as I said, I'm my real voice. I'm not sick. I just talk this way. And Connie and I were in an event in a room about half this size, but no tables and chairs, and everybody was sort of jammed together. And she was standing next to a guy she'd never seen before. And as I walked up on the stage and started talking, this guy turns to my wife, true story, and says, "I can't stand that guy's voice." And she said, "Yeah." And he said, "Yeah, when that guy speaks, man, it's like fingernails on a blackboard." And Connie said, "Yeah, I feel that way too, thank you." And Connie said, "I like his voice." And he said, "You like that guy's voice?" And she said, "Yeah, you know when I really like it?" She goes like that, and he leans in, and she leans in and said, "I really like it when he wakes me up in the middle of the night and says, 'I love you, baby.'" So, you need a little laughter this time of day. So it's an honor to speak after Stacey Abrams. All of us, I just said to her, I haven't seen her since the election. I've known her not well for some time, and I say, every time I talk about you publicly, I say, you won that election. They stole that election from you. We know that. She hears it all the time. But what I like so much about her is that she did not let that defeat her. It's just been a bigger call to action to fueling her fight for voting rights and the work that so many of us do. So it's an honor to be here right after Stacey speaks. You know, too often people act like Democrats have to make this choice between fighting for workers and speaking out and fighting for our progressive values. It's a false choice. It's not either or. It's not either talking to progressives or fighting for workers, because fighting for workers is a progressive value. Ohio showed that last fall in my election. A state Trump won by 10 points. I never run for my progressive record. I have a lifetime F from the NRA. I voted against the Iraq War. I voted for marriage equality 20 years ago in a conservative state. And you can go into that state and you can fight for progressive workers. I can go into a town like Zanesville or my hometown of Mansfield, Ohio. I can go into those communities, and there may be some people that don't like my F from the NRA, or there may be people that don't like that I've been for marriage equality for 20 years, but they listen to me, and they will vote for a candidate like me. They will vote for an incumbent like me who's fought for workers, who understands the dignity of work and understands honoring work and understands respecting work. People can disagree with you on choice, or disagree with you on guns, or disagree with you on marriage equality, but come around if you talk to them about their lives, talk to them about education, sending their kid to community college, talk to them about health care, talk to them about their work schedule, talk to them about wages, talk to them about benefits. Because the dignity of work means hard work should pay off for everyone, no matter what kind of work you do, whether you swipe a badge, whether you punch a clock, whether you work on salary, whether you work for tips, whether you're taking care of an aging parent, whether you're raising children. Dignity of work unites and should unite progressives and all of us. It's a message that speaks to everyone. It's a message that speaks for everyone, regardless of race, regardless of gender. It's how we win in 2020. It's how we elect a new president. It's dignity of work is more than a slogan. It's who I am. It's who we are. It's our progressive values. It's also how we govern once 2021 comes around. And dignity, as I said, dignity of work it's about wages, it's about benefits, it's about so much more. It's about giving workers more power over their lives. It's about giving workers flexible schedules. It's about workers being in charge of their schedules. It's about a tax code that puts people first. We absolutely, all of us believe millionaires should pay their fair share in taxes, no question. But we also know that simply taxing the rich won't put more money in the pockets of middle-class families and those who aspire to be middle class. If we truly want to address the wage gap, we have to overhaul the whole tax system and rebuild a tax code that puts people first. Let me start with this. We should pass the Patriot Corporation Act. It's simple. It says if companies do the right thing. If they pay their workers well, if they provide benefits, if they provide child care, if companies do the right thing, if they do their production in the United States under the Patriot Corporation Act, they should get a lower tax rate. But those companies, those big companies where executives make millions of dollars a year that pay thousands of their workers, $8, $10, $12 an hour, workers who are eligible for EITC, as they should be, workers who are eligible for Medicaid, workers that get food stamps, workers that get Section 8 housing. If those companies do that, multi-zillion dollar companies that pay their workers $8 and $10 and $12 an hour, those workers should pay a corporate freeloader fee back to taxpayers. They should be reimbursing taxpayers for the low wages they pay for their employees. I will fight to the death, though, that those employees get EITC and those employees are eligible for food stamps and Medicaid and Section 8 housing vouchers. But those companies that pay low wages like that should pay that corporate freeloader fee and should begin to pay taxpayers back for those subsidies. The second thing, we know the most efficient way to put money in the pockets of people is through the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit, what we call a cost of living refund, and we need to significantly expand both credits. We need to make sure a number of things. We need to make sure every child gets the full credit, regardless what their parents do. Having a family shouldn't be a luxury only for people who are affluent. At the same time, we need to make sure that workers without children share in the earned income tax credit. They should not be able, as the tax code today, if you're a single person, you're paying the payroll tax. You, in many ways, are being taxed into poverty. That's why single people without children should be eligible for an expanded earned income tax credit. We should stop treating our citizens in Puerto Rico as second-class citizens by our tax code. And we should allow everyone to get an advance on their earned income tax credit so they don't have to turn to shady payday lenders when their car breaks down. Here's the example. Yesterday, Kathy Kraninger, the new head of the Consumer Bureau, who seems to care nothing about consumers, even though she has that job, came in and testified to our committee. And here's the situation. Somebody's eligible at the end of the year for $3,000 earned income tax credit, refundable tax credit, right? In the cost of living refund. In October, their car breaks down. What do? You know that 40% of Americans can't come up with $400 like that, right? 40% of Americans. So what does she do if her car breaks down in October? So what does she do? She goes to a payday lender. And then she goes back to a payday lender, because almost nobody goes to a payday lender once because they can't pay it back right away, and you know the kind of scams so many payday lenders do. So what we should do as part of our earned income tax credit is give somebody once a year an ability to get an advance on their earned income tax credit. So she can take that $500 and pay to get her car fixed, and then next year she'll get $500 less, but she will have had that advance, so she won't have to go to a payday lender. These are values every Democrat can support. I want to thank my partner, Congressman Ro Khanna, who is here and will be speaking in a moment. As I said, you'll hear from him soon. In the coming weeks, he and I and others are going to push legislation to achieve these goals. And I'm asking, where you come in, I'm asking for your help to get every single Democrat signed on. We want every Democrat to sign on to every one of these earned income tax credit, child tax credit proposals. And we did that to think that it can't be done. Listen to this. When we unite behind a common purpose and fight for people that serve, we can win. We did it in 2013, 14, and 15. We had a Democratic president, but we had a Republican House and a Republican Senate. Republicans wanted to push through a whole bunch of tax cuts for corporations. With Nancy Pelosi leading in the House and I was leading in the Senate, many of you in this room were engaged. We united Democrats and said no tax cuts for anybody without tax cuts for working families. President Obama, at our request, said he would veto any other bill about taxes that the Republicans passed. We ended up expanding the earned income tax credit. We ended up expanding the child tax credit because of President Obama's veto threat and because we held every single Democrat together. That's where you come in. That's why we need your help. It took 3 years. We got it done. It helped literally it was called by a number of groups as the most important anti-poverty initiative that, except for the Affordable Care Act, the most important anti-poverty initiative in the last 25 years. And we did it not by moving to the middle and standing for nothing, by moderating or watering down our goals. We did it by uniting behind a common purpose, say nothing happens here if you don't give a tax break to working class families, if you don't give a tax break to the middle class and to people who aspire to the middle class. And that's how we work together, and that's how we fight. Let me close with this. We hear in this White House this phony populism coming out of the White House, a president that says he's for workers, a president that says he stands by working class voters and working class people. But what we also know is populism is never racist, populism is never anti-Semitic, populism never divides people, populism never pushes some people down to lift other people up. Populism is fighting for workers, populism is giving people opportunity, populism is advocating for civil rights and women's rights and LGBTQ rights and workers' rights. That's what populism is. If we unite around real populism, reject the phony populism in the White House, we unite around real progressive populism, we'll reclaim that title as progressive populists, we'll reclaim the White House in 2020 from Donald Trump. Thank you so much. Thanks.